I was going to do a video about the disappointing turn of Americans abroad, Americans playing in Europe, our golden generation, who I'll identify here in a little bit. But I held off for a couple weeks. A, because I didn't want to be negative. But B, I figured let's give it a few more weeks. It's the end of the season. Maybe they'll bounce back. However, things haven't gotten better. Things have actually gotten worse. And when Brian Sciaretta, who has been a guest on my podcast, tweeted this after this weekend's action, "I'm struggling to think of a worse weekend for Americans abroad. This has been horribly nearly across the board." This is a guy who watches everything about Americans abroad playing in the Premier League, all the way down to the Belgian League, Turkish League, you name it. When he says that, then I figured it's time to address it, because it is dire, and it's a variety of issues. It's players from the very top, and I'm going to try and focus in on that golden generation of players. But it's just Americans overall, from Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, to the situation at Leeds, to the players in the championship where we thought maybe one or two guys could get promoted, and now the best case scenario is one, and it's probably going to be a goalkeeper. From Valencia in relegation peril, from guys not playing, from guys getting injured. This weekend sucked. It was bad. So today on the Soccer OG, check out the Soccer OG podcast, where all podcasts are available. We got a really nice one with Manuel Feit of Transfer Market, talking about everything from the Bundesliga race to the perception of Major League Soccer. Going to have Moises Linares, who is one of the announcers on the MLS Season Pass. A great story for young people who want to get in the business. Moises did it the hard way, and now he is getting some traction. So check that out, the Soccer OG podcast. And like and subscribe us here. Hit that like button. Join the Soccer OG family. We'd love to have you. Drop a note here or on my social media. I will try to respond. I really enjoy the interaction. So let us go into some of the things that happened this weekend. Injuries, a lot of them. Tim Ream, the worst one. Fulham had to leave. It looks like his season's over. In the Scottish Cup final, Malik Tillman picked up an injury. It looks like he's not coming back anytime soon. Celtic have already said Cameron Carter-Vickers has been carrying an injury for a while, so he is going to be put on the shelf. Those were the injuries. Then you add to it so many players out of favor. So many guys getting just small appearances here. So many players facing relegation. It is really tricky. Playing time, minimizing it across the board. I mean, when you talk about the injuries, of course, Daryl Dike is another one. It's hard to find silver linings here. There is some good news, which I'll share to you a little bit later. Now, the injuries we can't control, but the playing time we certainly can. And this is going to be a pivotal time for American players to, A, find a club where they are going to be able to perform. A club where they have good aspirations. Because remember, it wasn't that long ago. We were talking about 10 Americans in the group stages of the Champions League. Americans lifting the Champions League. We don't have any Americans in the Champions League from the quarterfinals on. After Christian Pulisic was eliminated, he wasn't even playing. So maybe it wasn't supposed to get that good that quickly when we had all these Americans everywhere. Maybe that was a mirage. Maybe we're not ready for the big time yet. I think we are. But there were some mistakes made. The Leeds situation certainly is one of them. And Jesse Marsch in charge, he's a big reason there's 3 Americans there. There's no doubt about the fact that he brought in Weston McKennie. He gets removed from his post, and then Weston McKennie has just not played well for Leeds. Brendan Aronson was playing well, but now he's not playing. Tyler Adams is another injury. I forgot to mention it, but man, it is pretty bleak. And things will get better. But this is going to be an important offseason for a lot of guys, and I'll get to that. I want to designate the golden generation of American soccer. I got 10 players on that list. And There's another group right behind them that aren't quite golden because they didn't come up at that time maybe, or maybe talent-wise it's just a notch below. But these are the 10 guys on the Golden Generation. Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Serginho Dest, Yunus Musa, Josh Sargent, Tim Weah. I'm going to put LD, LT, Luca Della Torre, and Anthony Robinson there too on the fringe. Then you have another group that not quite golden, but have a lot of potential, could become golden. That's Brendan Aronson, Mark McKenzie, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Ricardo Pepi, Haji Wright, and I was going to say Zach Steffen, and maybe Matt Turner, although they're a little bit older, so maybe they're not part of that youth golden generation. And that long list of guys I gave you, there's very few redeeming qualities right now about any of their careers. Ricardo Pepi, yes. Haji Wright, yes, in that next group. But that 10-player group, we got problems. Let's start with Christian Pulisic. All the tinkering at Chelsea, and he really is the guy left out. Chelsea has, he can't get a game. They have a game on Tuesday. You might see this video after it happens, and maybe Christian Pulisic goes ballistic and scores a hat trick. But he's getting less and less playing time, and Chelsea are the worst attack right now in the Premier League. Can't score goals, can't even get close to scoring goals, and yet Christian Pulisic can't get in there. So he has about a year left in his contract. Everyone's figuring, get out. It's a perfect time for Chelsea to sell. They're not going to recoup all that money that they bought him for. But if he's going to leave in a year, you sell him, you make the player happy, you recoup some of that money. Mauricio Pochettino has been targeted as the next coach. Great choice. And he threw out there that he wants Pulisic to stay. Look, Chelsea's an incredible club. It's one of the big 5 names right now, and to live in London and that lifestyle. But he has 1 goal and 2 assists in what has been a wash of a season. Certainly after the World Cup, it really took a turn, and he's out. Gio Reyna, healthy at Dortmund, but can't seem to get into the rotation. And you can't fault the powers that be there because they're winning. They did have a setback to Bochum this weekend, so now Bayern are back in front. I get the feeling that Dortmund might win because Bayern don't look all that great. But obviously Dortmund can't drop many more points. I still think that they have a real good shot at this. But Gio Reyna, he got 9 minutes this weekend, and that was the most he's had in a bit. I just don't see him getting in there, which questions whether his future is at Dortmund. Because they're bringing in young players, and all those young players, and this is not apples to apples, they're not playing the same position at Reyna. You have Julian Brandt, Karim Adeyemi, Daniel Malen. These guys are securely in that lineup. And Gio Reyna, it's a great place to be right now, especially if he wins that Bundesliga shield, but he's not playing. Serginho Dest, absolutely gone off the grid. Milan are like, no, you can take him. Now we hear there's a loan deal for Union Berlin. Sounds like it could be a great situation for him. We thought the Milan situation would be good when he left Barcelona. So Serginho Dest is in a quagmire. Yunus Musa at Valencia. They're in a huge relegation fight. He's playing, but clearly Valencia is a wrong club for him. Tyler Adams injured. Weston McKennie not fitting in, even though he's playing for Leeds, but not quite fitting in. Somehow, by the way, Leeds have been terrible. 1 point in 15 out of a possible 15 points. I think they've allowed like 15 goals in that stretch. They've been 18 goals in that stretch. Brutal. But somehow they're still out of the bottom 3, so maybe this is going to happen. Josh Sargent, he scored over the weekend, but Norwich has just gone. We thought there could be a team that gets promoted. Josh Sargent coming back to the Premier League. It's been terrible. He's got his numbers, but is he going to stay in the championship? Tim Weah was playing well with Lille. There's a rumor that Marseille are interested, but he is playing out of position, and now he's not playing. He's coming off the bench. Luca Della Torre has been a very rare bright spot, playing regularly for Celta in La Liga. And Anthony Robinson plays all the time, and that is your golden generation. A lot more question marks than exclamation points, for sure, right? Then you have some of the other guys. Mark McKenzie's doing well. Cameron Carter-Vickers injured. Brendan Aronson now moved to the bench. And you're left here very, very concerned. Those guys, I think a few of them obviously will need. I'd love to see Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna. I mean, that's the top of our pecking order. Those are the two big talents for the United States. We have some other guys that I've not mentioned there, like Taylor. But even Taylor Booth, who looked like he was unstoppable at Utrecht, he's taken a step. This is crazy. Jordan Pivot was scoring. He took a big step back. John Brooks was playing well at Hoffenheim. He had a mistake over the weekend. Now they're back in. Lyndon Gooch at Sunderland. They took a step back. And you're very hard-pressed to have any concern or any issue with what Brian Sciaretta tweeted that time. Joe Scally's now on the bench. Good old reliable Joe Scally. He was always in the lineup. Not anymore. I would say reason for concern, but not reason for panic. And then we got to look at that next group. But who are that next group of players? Everyone's excited about Kevin Sullivan, 13-year-old out of the Philadelphia Union Academy. But who else? Who are these young players at some academies that would be another new golden generation? Who's good enough to displace the guys that I mentioned? I don't think they're out there yet. I don't think they're out there. And look, if Leeds get relegated, that's 3 Americans we've got to find. McKennie's not going to go down with them. Juventus don't want him, it would appear. He'd have to find somewhere else. Tyler Adams, maybe those two stay. But man, we're just flooding the championship with Americans. That wasn't the plan. We're going backwards. So it is very frustrating. But there you have it. And now we wait for that. And then even the Tim Ream. I mean, I hope he comes back, and he's been fantastic. But old reliable Tim Ream out of the blue. There's some little things brewing. Chris Richards is kind of playing back again for Crystal Palace. But the list is very short of things that you can get really, really excited about. I'm sorry. Now, here is the good news. Here is the good news. This is happening in 2023. It didn't happen last year. If this was going to happen, and hopefully this is kind of hitting rock bottom, this is the time to do it. Imagine this happened before the World Cup last year. Wouldn't be good. It kind of happened in some cases. Some guys weren't playing that regularly, but not like this. Not like this. That long list of players all in peril. Imagine Tim Ream and Cameron Carter-Vickers and Tyler Adams unavailable for a World Cup. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. And a lot of guys are going to have to hit the reset button. They're going to have really good representation. They're going to have straight shooters that don't just take the best deal that's on the table. I mean, that's part of it. Some of these guys get to the wrong clubs at the wrong time. Look at what happened to Brian Reynolds. He is now just coming back out for air after a real ill-advised move to Roma. It's tons of players. Ricardo Pepi just starting to come up for air after that horrible move to Augsburg, although it was big money and we were crazy about it at the time. But that was difficult to take. But this is the time for it to happen. 2024, when you have that Copa America, that's the big fixture coming up. That is when you really want these guys to kind of take that step back up. We want these U.S. players to do well in the upcoming summer in the Nations League and certainly the Gold Cup. We want to defend those trophies. We want to at least repeat in one of those, right? And 2024 will be different. I am confident that Christian Pulisic will be in a better situation. I'm confident Gio Reyna will be, whether it's Dortmund or not. Serginho Dest, certainly. It couldn't get much worse. And then we can kind of start rebuilding. And maybe in 2024, 2025, someone will join that group. And it may be someone we least expect. There might be a late bloomer. Who knows? But that is some good news. That it didn't happen in 2022, and it's not happening in 2024, and it's certainly not happening in 2026. It's as if they knew it. It's as if they knew this was the time to hit a wall. And that's what's happening. So, if nothing else, it is good timing. And now, it's just weird that everyone is in that kind of same boat. Some of them will get out of it. And Folarin Balogun's out there. I mean, that is a bright spot still, doing well at Rennes. And then we got to find these pieces. And look, if they have to downgrade to a smaller league or smaller club, so be it. So be it. This is important that they get this right. The next club has to be the right club for Pulisic and Reina and Dest. And Musa. Musa could be one of the more talented players on this. Valencia ain't it. We'd love to see him in the English league or a better team, perhaps in Spain. Because we don't have a lot of players in Spain. So we want to keep that footprint down there. The Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. Like and subscribe us here on YouTube under my name, Max Bretos. Hit that thumbs up immediately. And we will be the bearer of better news next time around. Just putting this out there to make you all aware so that we can address it and fix it and move forward so that we can hit our targets in 2026, which is a World Cup semifinal. You heard it here first.